Hello and welcome to the Tough Girl podcast, which is all about motivating and inspiring you. I'm your host, Sarah Williams. The Tough Girl podcast is sponsorship and ad-free thanks to the monthly financial support of patrons. To find out more about supporting your favourite podcast and become a patron, please check out patreon.com/Tough Girl podcast. There's over 230 patrons who are currently supporting the mission to increase the amount of female role models in the media. Come and join them. Today, I'm delighted we're going to be speaking to Abbi Naylor. Abbi is an expedition leader, outdoor instructor, adventurer and endurance athlete who this year has completed over 30 challenges to celebrate turning 30. Abbi truly believes that everybody has an adventurous spirit in them. It does not matter what the adventure is, however big or small it may seem, we should be encouraging and supportive of others. Abbi, you have had the most phenomenal 2018 from what I can see. It's been jam-packed with adventures and challenges. Do you just want to, before we talk about that in more detail, do you just want to tell everybody a little bit more about you and who you are and where you come from?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, I listen to your podcast all the time, so I'm completely overwhelmed that you've asked me to come on, and I kind of feel like I'm an intruder in these most inspiring women I've ever heard of. So thank you for the podcast, first of all. It's incredible, and it is inspiring every week, I'm sure, to everyone. So I don't really feel like I'm one of those people, but I'm a very mixed bag, really, a bit of a jack of all trades, I kind of call myself. I'm extremely outdoorsy. Very active and really into fitness, and that's what keeps me kind of happy being outside, happy and healthy. And kind of due to that, I'm kind of have this outdoor life in many different guises. I can't stay inside for too long or sit still for very long. I'm sure lots of your listeners can relate to that. And I'm very lucky with my job because it means I'm outside all the time, really. I'm lucky that I lead expeditions all over the world and in the UK, and I get to teach lots of outdoor skills ranging from canoeing or just general camping or little bits of bushcraft, that kind of thing. It's what I'm really into. And I'm a bit of a perpetual student. I've been kind of studying for as long as I can remember, really, and I'm currently doing a master's at the moment in crisis and disaster management, as well as everything else. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell, I suppose.
Oh, I absolutely love it. I mean, God, there's so much stuff in there. I just want to go back to what you said about, you love being outdoors and it's fitness and it's being active, and that makes you happy and healthy. When you were growing up as a child, did you come from like a sporty outdoor family? When did you start realizing that it was being outdoors, it was being fit and active that made you happy?
So I grew up on the very edge of Dartmoor, if you know it, in the southwest. So I think I was outdoors exploring all of the time. We had a garden which was only an acre, but I remember being small and feeling like that was huge. And I used to go exploring for wolves. For some reason, I thought there was wolves at the bottom of the garden. I remember this really clearly. And I think I was always allowed to be kind of let loose. And I was slightly a tomboy, even though, so I was just muddy all the time. I think that's where it started. My brother and sister aren't very outdoorsy, actually. But my mum is outdoorsy in the fact that she does loads and loads of hiking. So I kind of think I've always hiked with her. Yeah, that's probably where it's come from.
And when did you decide that you wanted to be like an outdoor expedition leader? Was that sort of part of your career path, or did you just stumble into it?
Yeah, definitely. I tell people I kind of stumbled into it. And as I say, I feel very lucky, but it takes quite a lot of work to be where I am now. But I originally always, for as long as I can remember, wanted to be in the army, and I was going to join the army. And that's where I wanted to go in life. And even through university, I wanted to be in the army, and I was in the what's called the officer training course. So it's kind of the TA, the reserves, but you're a student, so you don't get sent anywhere. And had loads and loads of fun doing that. And I was doing that for 4 years whilst at university, and I loved it. And then I met my now husband, and kind of my path kind of changed, and I felt like I'd dedicated quite a lot of my time to the army, but I was very lucky that they gave me loads more outdoorsy skills, and I ended up being a ski instructor for the army, and got loads of experience skydiving. I went skydiving for a month in California and lots of sailing, and it kind of reinforced all these outdoorsy things. And then I trained to be a teacher. I mean, it's quite a long-winded way of getting to an expedition lead. I trained to be a teacher, and I loved teaching the children, but I hated all the other stuff, and I couldn't stand being stuck in a classroom. And I was about 23 and already felt like I was having this huge crisis when all of my friends were already a career or training to be doctors or other things. And I felt like I was having a little bit of a crisis. And I went over and lived on the Isle of Man for a year and worked for pittance on this adventure centre over there and gained loads of more experience and more qualifications and had the best time. And that's kind of where I fell into it. Somebody one day asked me, would you mind being an assistant leader on a trip to Borneo with this group of 16 girls? I was like, oh yeah, okay, I've got nothing else to do. I might as well go along. That would be fantastic. And I just had this great time. And the company that I went with said to me, if you get your mountain leader qualification and some further bits and bobs that you need, we would take you on. And that's kind of where it went. Yeah, so that's it, really. Bit of a long-winded way around it, but yeah.
No, but I think it's fantastic because sometimes it's not this straight path that you have to follow. Sometimes it winds and it turns and it twists, and you end up getting, these qualifications and these experiences. You've mentioned about expeditions are, a huge part of your life, both for work and for play. Do you just want to share? You mentioned Borneo, but are there other favourite expeditions of yours that you've been on that you've led?
Yeah, definitely. I then, after Borneo and getting the further qualifications that I needed, found out that there was a huge industry of expeditions, which I really didn't know about. As I say, I was really outdoorsy and into traveling a little bit, but I didn't know that this industry was huge, and that at the time when I went to Borneo, that was a school group. So that means that the expeditions are in their school holidays, obviously, which makes sense. And then I found out that there's all these adult expeditions that go all year round. And that's kind of where I changed my focus and started to look more into adult expeditions. And I still always do a student expedition at least one a year because I love them, and it's so much fun. But I kind of focus in the adult expedition. So I've done amazing things on adult expeditions, and feel really privileged that I get to take people on their kind of bucket list trips. They're like once in a lifetime trips that they plan for. So, I've climbed Kilimanjaro 12 times, I think. Yeah, 12 times now, and have been to the Himalayas a lot and things like that. But one of my favourite trips I've ever done is a bit more local, and I work with a couple of charities that help students that have got behavioural problems. So they've normally been expelled from school, and I've taken a couple of groups out to Sweden on a canoeing and survival expedition, and they are just incredible, and the changes in these kids is just amazing. I love it, and that's some of my favourite ones, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that just must be amazing, getting to take these children out there to do something completely different, massively outside of their comfort zone. And talking about comfort zones, I know we've talked about expeditions, but you are a bit of a fitness junkie and you do like sporting challenges.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the sporting challenges as well? Because you've done a couple of very, from Le Jog in 9 days to the UK's 1000 challenge and Race to the Kings. Talk me through or tell us more about how you got into the cycling and the running and doing these sort of extreme endurance events.
Originally, exercise for me was not necessarily a positive thing. It was positive. It started off quite positive, but I ended up, when I was younger, about 14 and 15, using exercise as a kind of way to help my mental health. And I became very obsessed with exercise, actually. And that kind of also tied in with trouble I was having with an eating disorder at the time. I had a very severe eating disorder, and I had this exercise-induced kind of control mechanism that I was using. So it wasn't necessarily a positive thing. And I got really into running. I had to run every day and do loads of exercise every day. And it took me a long time to get over exercise as a negative thing of what I was doing. Does that make sense?
No, it does actually. I think it will resonate with a lot of people. That it's almost, I mean, exercise and food and control, and people just use it in different ways. I mean, that must have been a very challenging time for you, especially 14, 15, going through this. How long are you? I mean, I don't know. Are you recovered? Is that the right word? Or are you still in that place? Or
that whole thing started as a control mechanism, as I say, and I started to sort of control what I was eating, and then my exercise increased, and I realized after a while, my friends and family and myself realized that there was quite a huge problem, and I did seek help from it, and I got lots of help, and I had very supportive mum. My mum was absolutely amazing and supported me through it all, and my school was very supportive as well, so I feel very lucky. And I had a lot of help with counselling and all kinds of things. But we realised through a lot of process that being outdoors and a healthy way of exercise is kind of who I am. It is my roots from when I was much younger. So it's definitely, I think for me, I feel recovered, but I will always have that part of me that has slight anxiety about food and also slight anxiety about exercise. Even though I know exercise for me is really positive and is fantastic for my mental health, there will be points where if I don't do it, sometimes I can feel that anxiety increasing. So sometimes there's a week, when everybody knows that you don't get to do any exercise and you feel a bit rubbish, and I know that I need to get out running to feel better. So yeah, I do feel fully recovered, but I think when you've had a severe eating disorder, it will kind of always a little bit be a part of who I am. So yeah.
Which was your first sort of ultra distance challenge that you did?
So as I say, since I've been younger, I've always been doing little bits of crazy things. And the very first ones, I suppose, were when I was at school, and there was Duke of Edinburgh, which I'm sure you've heard of. But down in the south, there is a challenge on Dartmoor called 10 Tours. And there's 3 different distances. So you start when you are 14 and you're in a team of you, and you're doing all your own self-navigation, and it's a weekend challenge where all teams kind of compete against each other, and you navigate to 10 different tours in about 36 hours. So the first one is 35 miles, then the year later, you're in year 11, you do 45 miles, and then in sixth form there's 55 miles. So I suppose they were my first kind of challenges when I think about it. I've never really thought of it like that way before, but yeah, that was probably my first challenge as a team, and they were hard. When you're that young, that's a hard distance to do and to self-navigate and to carry all your kit as well. So that was probably the first time I realised that was my thing. And I was also always in a team of all boys. Yeah, always.
How did you find being in a team of all boys?
Oh, I loved it. Do you know what? I've never really thought of it for me, it's never really been an issue. I've always just had really supportive mates, and whether they've been boys or girls, it's never really been an issue. And I've always had lots of friends that are guys because they're into the things I liked at the time. So yeah, I've never thought of it as a barrier personally. But of course I know it is for some. So yeah, I think I just loved it. But at the time, I mean, it was a long time ago now, we were allowed to, I don't think I even had my own tent. I think I just got chucked in with the boys. That would not be allowed nowadays, would it?
Definitely wouldn't be allowed nowadays. So tell us about the Race to the Kings, because that was your first ever ultra marathon, which you did by yourself. Tell us about that, and why you decided to do that.
That was the first one, completely by myself, as you say. But the actual first time I realised that I was kind of liked ultra running and was going to go for it was my husband's fault. So I'm going to blame my husband, Will. I got an email one day saying, "Thank you for signing up to the Thames Trot Ultra Marathon." I was like, "What? I've not done that." And then just after I read this email, there was a text from Will saying, "I've just signed you up to an ultra marathon. I'm going to do it with you, so it'll be okay." And I was like, okay, that means I've got to train. So I trained really hard, and I followed quite a strict training program and loved all the training. And Will didn't quite follow the training program quite as strictly as me. So I ended up kind of loving this ultra marathon, and Will did not love it. So that's when I decided, okay, I might be all right at this, because I had such a good time. And that's why I signed up to Race to the King kind of by myself, just to see if I loved it as much. And I really did, and I did okay. Yeah, so that was fantastic. It was such a good event and so beautiful.
What did you love about it?
I think ultramarathons for me are just, there's a completely different vibe about them. I find that nobody really asked you anything about what time are you going to do it in, or how fast you're going to run each mile or whatever. It's just genuinely about, let's hope we all make it round, together. And you also get to eat lots of snacks, and you're carrying kit, and it's kind of there's no I feel less pressure with an ultramarathon than I do with the shorter distances, and that's what I really love about it. And I kind of find that those distances for me are a bit like meditation. I go into like a completely different world, and that could be just because I get into a rhythm and I'm going off into a daydream, or sometimes ultramarathons can cause such a different pain threshold that you have to go through that your brain just goes off somewhere completely different, and your body does amazing things. And the stories and imagination that my brain comes up with when I'm doing these, I love it, and I love going into a different world. Yeah.
And it's amazing how sometimes when you are running, you get into this like meditative state, and you think, oh, it's going to continue all the way. And then for sometimes it's for no reason at all, it just then goes into this, I want to say, deep dark hole, or you reach this pain threshold. When you are in those those dark times, because I mean, how many miles is the Race of the Stones? Is that 100 miles? Race of the King, sorry.
No, Race of the King is a double marathon. Yeah, double marathon. So that one I didn't. Do you know what? I find it quite difficult to remember. I didn't have that deep dark moment, because on that one there was quite a lot of people around me. So I try and chat to people when I run past them or they run past me, and I didn't have too much of a dark moment. But there's been some other ultra marathons, all shorter distances, where I have really had to sort of get myself out of a dark place. And I try to, there's lots of things I try to do. I have a few different mechanisms. Sometimes I'll just count in numbers, and repeat the counting, so 1 to 30, and just count and count and count. That sounds so dull. Just realised. But that works for me. Other times I will just try and talk to myself that I have pushed myself harder than this, and I know I can do it. Like, you've got this, you can do it. And just try and be gentle on yourself. Your body's trying to tell you something, and you are pushing it to the max. So I think if you then try and you get angry with your body, like, why are you hurting? Why are you in this dark place? It makes it worse. You need to try and I try and be positive with it, because I know it's done some amazing things. So yeah, I think I just try and be positive.
Now, one of the things which is really exciting about 2018 is your challenge 30 for 30. Do you just want to tell everybody what that challenge is, where the idea came from, and how you set it in motion?
Yeah, definitely. So as previously mentioned, I had quite severe depression, eating disorder, and all kinds of other things when I was a teenager. And it was a really dark place. So I didn't ever know at the time whether I was going to come out of that in a positive way, or whether I was still going to be here at 30. I had this big thing that I wasn't going to be here. And during my depression, I actually had 2 really bad points where I had 2 suicide attempts. So as I say, becoming 30, for some reason, this number of 30 was a really big deal in my head. That I didn't know if I was going to make it. And way before that, I, as we talked about, got better and recovered and have this very amazing life. But I knew I wanted this year, in 2018, as I turned 30, to celebrate it in some way. So I created this challenge, 30 for 30. because it was such a prominent number, and I knew I wanted to do something revolved around 30, but I couldn't. I wanted to do it for a full year, and it kind of encompass everything I do, and maybe get other people involved, and it kind of be hard enough that I would gain lots of sponsorship and people wanting to support it. So that's why I came up with doing these 30 endurance events in 1 year. Yeah, that's where it kind of came from, really.
And do you just want to give us an example of some of the different endurance events that you decided on doing?
Yes, I wanted to do lots of different things rather than, I was trying to be logical about all this. So I thought if I just do running, I'm probably going to get injured. If I just do something that I've never done before, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. So I kind of wanted to encompass all the things I love, but I wanted to make them a much more extreme level. I also knew that swimming is definitely not a thing I do really or enjoy, but I wanted some triathlons in there, so I did a lot more swimming. So I have done lots of ultra marathons, long distance triathlons, long distance open water swimming. I did a ski race, and I've done lots of long distance cycle races, either mountain biking or road biking. So that's kind of the ilk of what I've been doing, yeah.
I mean, the list is, I mean, when you go through and read the list, and you can go and check out Abbi's website at abbinaylor.com, and it's phenomenal, these endurance challenges that you've taken on. Even to do one of them in a year would be, you know, incredible and amazing. But to do 30 of them, it's just, I think it just takes it to this whole different level. But what I'd love to do is to take you back almost to, it would have been, you know, December 2017, before the start of the new year, before the start of 2018, to how you were feeling, and also to take you back to before you shared this, or when you shared it with your friends and family, and then put it out to the world. I mean, what were you feeling at that point?
Oh man, there's been so many different sort of stages to this whole thing, really, because first of all, as I say, I knew I wanted to do something, whether that was one thing or whether I was going to make it massive. It must have been the beginning of 2017, even, yeah, very beginning of 2017. I started to think about what this year was going to encompass, and I had this 30 endurance events in my head. I went through all other things like running the Southwest Coast Path, and all kinds of other things went through my head. But I then kind of stuck to me that I wanted to do these 30 endurance events, but I hadn't told anyone at this point. And I told Will as the first person I told. And I kind of remember saying to him, talking about it quite quietly, and then going, "Is that a really rubbish idea?" And he just said, "No, that's brilliant." I kind of, in a way, you know, wanted him to say, "No, that's not a very good idea," but he didn't. He just said, "No, that's amazing. I think it's great, and you should go with it." So that kind of gave me huge amounts of butterflies and excitement and all these other thoughts that went through my mind. And the people that have known me for a long time obviously know about my past with exercise. So I was also slightly worried that they would think it was a negative thing, other than a positive thing. You know, the past 15 years I've been absolutely fine with it, but this is quite a big deal, right? So I was a bit worried about that. But telling someone for the first time is the thing to do, definitely. But then I also knew I wanted to relate it to my past history, and I wanted to relate that I'm doing this challenge because of my mental health previously, and because I wanted to raise money for a mental health charity for the young. This meant I would have to tell people what I was doing, but not only that, I would have to write my story down on paper and let my friends and family know about my past history and why I had a mental health issue, and about my eating disorder, which lots of friends and family kind of skipped them. I was very good at hiding it, so a lot of people didn't even know that I was going through all these struggles. So putting that story out into the ether was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. Even writing it down was hard. It took me about 3 days to write it. That story now is on the Just Giving page and has been read thousands of times, and is on my website, and had as soon as it went out, had, I don't know, the most incredible response from people that I've not heard of, from people that have been friends for years, not realizing what had happened, and them feeling guilty that I hadn't supported more. But that wasn't the reason I wanted to do it. But I just needed to get the story out there, and the relief when people started to support what I was doing this year, and also were really, in a way, thankful that I'd written this story. That was the hardest but the best feeling in the world. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's a couple of things in there that I sort of want to highlight to other people, and you highlight it as well, is telling that one person the first time you admit it out loud. And I think, for me, I think sometimes you've got to be, obviously, Will, he's your husband, well, I was going to say he should be supportive, or he has to be supportive. But I think sometimes if you don't have that, you've got to pick your person very carefully. Because if he had turned around and sort of said, oh, Abbi, I'm not so sure about this, then it can just burst the balloon, it can burst the idea, it can burst the dream. And then it can just deflate, and then suddenly, you're not doing it anymore. But for you, you had that right person to tell, who encouraged you and who motivated you. And obviously then you've gone on to write down your story and to share it, which is, again, incredibly powerful thing to do, but also quite scary, putting yourself out there for friends and family to, I mean, I don't want to use the word judge, but that is what, unfortunately, people end up doing. And they've probably been following along on your social media and thinking, oh, Abbi, she's off to Kilimanjaro again, and she's off to Base Camp Everest, and she's doing X, Y, and Z, and she's always running and active, and she's got this, this perfect life, and she's so fit and so healthy. And then sometimes just people just don't know. So you were doing it for an amazing charity. Do you just want to quickly share more about the charity that you're raising funds for?
Yeah, I'm raising funds for a charity called Young Minds. So it's a mental health charity for the young. When I say the young, it's up to 2025. So it's a really useful charity. And it's really has a massive place in my heart, because it actually also helps. What I think is really amazing charity is because it helps friends and family of people that are struggling with their mental health. So my mum, for example, needed help when I was struggling, and she didn't quite know how to deal with a teenage girl who had an eating disorder, was running all the time, and she just didn't really know how to cope with me. And not just that, she just wanted someone to speak to that kind of understood. So they have a parents and friends and families helpline that you can call up for free, and they kind of provide advice and just support and just an ear. And I think that's absolutely incredible. The charity also goes into schools and does a program called the 360 program, which is about mental health awareness. And they also have their core ethos is this bunch of amazing activists who are all young people that have either suffered from mental health problems before or have got friends that have, and they are the ones that go into massive meetings with the governments and all kinds of stuff to try and change all the policies. So their whole core of the charity is revolved around the young people, and I just think it's an incredible charity. So I've been really I've loved supporting them, and I've loved being part of the charity this year, and I just hope that what I've done will help it continue. Yeah.
So I imagine that you didn't go out on the 31st of December to celebrate the new year.
No.
Because you were kicking off with your first event on the 1st of January. Talk us through, the transition from 2017 to 2018 to suddenly it's like, whoa, 430, these 30 big endurance challenges. So what was your first event?
So I did an event called the Knacker Cracker. So, Box Hill in Surrey? Have you heard of that?
I have, yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people have. So basically it was a crazy run up and down that, I think 4 times. Most people were in fancy dress, but I wanted to do it in my new Young Minds costume, and then I put lots of glitter and stuff all over my face. So I kind of looked the part, but it was my first event. And on New Year's Eve, as you say, New Year's Eve night, everybody out, or most people are out, not everyone nowadays, but I was sat at home on my own, kind of waiting for the new year to arrive so I could start this epic challenge, and just not knowing if I was going to be able to complete all 30 or how it was going to go, and both just excitement and just sheer worry at the same time. It was pretty emotional, and I just wanted, kind of in a way, wanted New Year's Eve to not be there so I could just start. I just wanted to get going. I had this pure like, come on, let's just go and start. And I'm sure lots of people know that from holidays and adventures that they've had.
I mean, and with trying to do like 30 events in a year, you're doing sort of more than 2 big events every month. Sometimes, sometimes three in a month. So January, you've got the excitement. It's the start of the challenge. It's it's new. You're probably you're strong, you're fit, you're healthy. Talk us through what happened as the months went by. Like whether that's through your emotions or your body, in terms of even, making sure that you didn't get an injury. How did that go for you?
Yeah, so the first month was a positive one because I was getting a lot of attention and a lot of sponsorship, and, they're just giving pages ping, 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 ping all the time. And it was really great. And there was lots of nice emails from people and loveliness like that. And other people also having their New Year's resolutions. So there was a lot of positivity from that. And as the months went on, everything was still great. And I tried to plan the events in a vaguely logical order so that each event would be training for the next one, as well as the training in between, but so that they would build up gradually, which worked pretty much really well, as well as it could. So the training went well, and I have had a coach this year, which I've never had previously, called Mark Cleanthos, who has just been fantastic this whole year. Else I think I would have been injured in the first month probably. So he sorted out not having injury because I just followed his training program to the button, like to the letter. And we spoke to each other often. So after each event, he would tailor it to how I was feeling. I was positive throughout, really. There was one stage, I can't remember what number of event it was, but it was called, it was Hadrian's Wall, basically. It's called The Wall, and it's 69-mile ultramarathon. And it was a really, really tough event anyway. And it was quite emotional. It was quite tough. And I finished, and I did all the usual social media, as you know, that you have to do. And I didn't get one sponsorship or one support. And I was really, really down about it. And I couldn't believe that I'd just run 69 miles nonstop and not really had any support. So that was quite a tough moment. And it took me a couple of days, and I thought, I'm going to write about that and kind of explain to people that I felt a bit down in the dumps about it, and I still have over half of them to do. And I felt like, because it's such a long challenge, people had kind of already got a bit bored of it. So I wrote this all down in a blog, and the response was huge, and people didn't really. They definitely didn't want me to feel like that, but they, of course, were watching and reading. But most people had plans to sponsor the charity after certain events, so they were just waiting for certain things. And I think it took me to realise that as well, that people are following. They've just got certain goals that they want me to achieve, or certain times, or there's an event that might be particular to them that they want me to achieve before they were going to support. And so that was quite a tough time for me. And then the nerves started to kick in, because in late summer, early autumn, I had some big events. So I did a 100-mile run, a 100-mile ultramarathon, and then 2 weeks later an Ironman. So they were quite big in my mind, and I felt like they were a huge hurdle that I needed to get over without being injured before I could do the next 10. So that was quite a big deal as well, definitely.
I mean, I suppose what's interesting is having these big events in your mind, and it's almost these mental hurdles that you've got to get over. Because, I mean, if you looked at the 30 challenges in one go, I mean, it's overwhelming. It's intense. I mean, it's it's intimidating. So in terms of helping you to keep focused, I mean, did you have any like mental tips and tricks? Did you have a vision board? Was it just a case of thinking about the next event or the next month of events? Like, how did you break it down?
I think it really helped for me having Mark, my coach, because he was I knew he had this list of my events, and he was plotting everything to coincide with the training for the next one. So that was a huge weight off my shoulders, not having to think too hard about 6 months' time, because I knew each one was training for the next. My goal for every event was to finish uninjured and smiling. And I have got a picture at every finish line, I think, bar one, of me smiling, and that was really my aim. And again, as you say, I have this big list on the wall, and I tick them off each time. And at first it looked really daunting because I did have so many to go, but then there was big targets. So, you know, even once you've got to 10, that's massive, isn't it? And when you've got to halfway, and it just started to get easier and easier. And as I say, the two big ones in my mind were the 100-miler and the Ironman, because for me, they're huge lifelong ambitions, and to do them so close together in 1 year was quite a big deal. So yes, at the moment I am my body's tired now, even though I'm happy and I'm not injured and I'm healthy, and I've just got one to go. The last two have been a real struggle for my body.
Tell us about the Ironman. You said that was one of your big hurdles. Which Ironman did you do?
I signed up to Barcelona Ironman because I thought, the Mediterranean, and it's nice and flat, and it's a fast course.
How did the event go? Like, you know, doing the Ironman, you're out in Barcelona on this incredible course. What was it like?
I found the couple of days leading up to the Ironman so intimidating, because you want to get over there a couple of days before, and it's quite intimidating, to be honest. This year's been the first year I've really done triathlons and got into triathlons, and I don't have the best and most Gucci kit. I have kind of just been doing everything in what I think to me is good kit, and I love all the stuff I've got, but everybody there seemed to be so professional and so much better than me, and that was my own personal perception, and I created loads of anxiety for myself. And I realised that afterwards, and I wanted to be part of the Ironman melee and be at all of, like, there's lots of kind of briefings before, and there's a massive merchandise store, and there's all kind of places you can get pictures taken, and there's like a pro athlete afternoon. So I was at all of this because I wanted to be part of it. And then I realised it was kind of making me pretty stressed out, because I just made myself feel inadequate. Now when I look back at it, I don't know why I did that, because I didn't need to be. I trained hard enough. I'd done all of these events before, over 20 events, and I don't know why I made myself feel like that. And I actually, the day before the Ironman, went with my family, and we had a complete day on the beach, far away from all of the Ironman merchandise, etc., and all of the other triathletes. And it was really good for me to get away from it and just to be like, you've got this, like, you can do it, just ignore everyone else and do your thing. And that the next morning when I woke up, that's what I did. I just said, just take one discipline at a time, try your best, and you've got it. You can do it. And it doesn't matter how fast you do it in, it doesn't matter how slow. It's just, by the end of the day, you'll be an Ironman, and that's what I really try to think.
Oh, massive congratulations. Yeah. But I think a lot of people are going to relate to that, because I think there is almost this pressure when there's other people around you and everyone starts talking about their training and what they've done. It can psych you out. It can really affect you, mentally. And actually, sometimes the best thing to do is to remove yourself from that situation, go to the beach with your family, relax and chill, and just know that you've done the training. So you said, we're recording this on the 31st of December. You've got, like, I think two more events or one more event coming up, but you're feeling quite tired now. How have you, I mean, working with your coach is amazing, but how have you recovered, or how have you kept yourself like injury free? Is there anything else that you've been doing, or that you've been conscious of that you need to work on?
So I've been doing a lot of yoga as well. So I added yoga into my training program. My coach isn't necessarily a massive fan of yoga or not, but I said to him, for me, it's something that I know I need to do to keep well stretched and to keep my head in the right space, really. So we kind of added that in. So that was really positive for me. And a huge amount of sleep. I have slept a lot this year, and if you have the time to have a good kind of 8 hours sleep a night, that is hugely helpful. I tend to sleep really well. I go into like 8 hours hibernation every night, and if I don't get that, I know that I don't feel on my best form. Lots of people ask me about if my nutrition's changed a lot, and it has. Other than working out what works for me on each event, I know what I like to eat during the ultramarathons, etc. My general eating hasn't changed, other than probably slightly bigger portions, and I still just eat healthy and a balanced diet. I haven't really upped the protein or whatever, as everyone says. And just trying to listen to my body, it will tell me what it needs, and I'm really an advocate of that. Really, just listening to what your body needs. I think there's been some times when I've said to my coach, look, I feel really tired. Is there anything we can change in the program this week? And he normally knows why I'm tired, or there's something I've not done quite correctly, and he will change my program. So you really do have to be honest with how you're feeling. The last few events, as I say, I feel like I'm recovering from them fine, but once I get running or get cycling over a certain distance or time, I just feel really, really sluggish. And that's because I haven't really had enough recovery in between any of the events. As you say, that it works out as 2.5 endurance events a month. So sometimes 2, sometimes 3, and that's not long enough for your body to recover. So I've got so many people I follow on Instagram, etc., that do 2 endurance events a year and then are recovering in between. So I know that I'm not going to be performing to my best, but that's not really what this year about. It's just to continue raising awareness and to keep smiling, as I say.
What's your final event going to be?
I kind of made it up myself, because actually I felt that the New Year's Eve events are all lovely 5K runs that people are going to do in fancy dress. So I wanted to do something, again, quite endurance wise, to celebrate 30 for 30, which is the title of the challenge. And I am mountain biking 30 miles from Caversham in Reading to Windsor. And then I am swimming 4K, and then I'm running 30K to Hampton Court Palace.
Oh, fantastic. And then that's going to be the end.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be finished before dark, because the support crew, I'm sure the people supporting are going to be off having their own celebrations. So I kind of wanted to make sure I was finished and have a glass of champagne with everyone, hopefully, and celebrate and not cry too much. Yeah.
I imagine it's going to be quite emotional finishing this and completing this year. I mean, what an incredible year you've had, but the amount of stuff that you've achieved and these endurance of events, and obviously raising funds as well for young minds is hugely inspiring. Have you thought much about 2019?
Yeah. Well, I really don't think what I've done this year has 100% kicked in yet. It kind of hasn't. And I know I'm going to need a little bit of time to reflect on everything. So I've kind of already lined myself up to know that I'm going to have a few ups and downs and have a bit of the blues. So I know that's going to happen, and I need some time to reflect about it. I have got a lot of expeditions lined up next year, which I'm really excited about. Some that I have been wanting to do for a long time, and this year I haven't been able to do such long expeditions because I haven't had the space in between events. So I've still done 5 long expeditions this year, but normally I do quite a lot more than that. So I've got a few a couple of month-long ones lined up, which I'm really excited about, which I'm taking people to some cool places. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I've also got the last kind of event in a way is I'm putting on a charity ball in March, a masked charity ball for young minds, which will kind of be the last thing really. And I think it would have given me chance until spring to have sunk in everything that I've achieved. And also it's just a huge thank you to everyone that's supported, and hopefully just a big party. That's what I'm planning.
So how can people get tickets to the charity ball?
It's a website called buytickets.at/30 for 30. So yeah, and I'd love you all to come.
I was going to say, what date is it in March?
It's the 30th of March, and it's at Spinnaker Tower, which I don't know if you've heard of it in Portsmouth. It's a very famous, very tall building, and I've hired out the whole tower, and the dance floor, part of it, just part of it and all of it, is a glass floor. So that's going to be really cool.
So Abbi, thinking about this year, about 2018 and what you've achieved, what would be your, and I know this is such a difficult question, so biggest highlight?
Well, event-wise was the 100-mile ultramarathon, definitely. Yeah, which was pretty epic, and I think, how do I explain it? Why did I love the 100-miler so much? There was just so many. I was so proud of myself and my body for achieving that, and coming in the time I did, which was something that I had a big goal of achieving, and it was just I've never felt that way, and I've never been so proud of myself ever. So that was my highlight, I think. Yeah.
What was the biggest learning of the one key takeaway that you've learned from going through everything that you've been through? That's a big question. Sorry, everything that you achieved in 2018. What was the key learning, or the thing that you're going to take away with you going forward?
I think for me, the first thing that popped into my head is pretty much how strong our bodies are, and how if you want something, you can achieve anything. And I kind of do feel like that at the moment. Even though I'm so tired, I feel like my body is capable of anything that you put your mind to, as long as you do it in the correct way. Yeah, that's what I think.
Abbi, what's your final words of advice and top tips for other women out there who want to take on their, maybe their first endurance challenge, or they want to push themselves hard physically? What advice and top tips would you have?
I would say pick a challenge that you are really passionate about, and a reason why you want to do it. Not just a reason, I don't know. It's got to be a reason that means something to you, that's going to keep you focused, definitely, and keep you motivated. If you can, I would get someone to help you with the training if possible, or just go online and find a training program and stick it on the wall and tick it off. But don't berate yourself if you don't manage to fit all of those things in. That life is busy and life is crazy, and we can't always fit in everything that we need to. And just take one step and one day at a time, and you'll get there, definitely. And if it's your first challenge, don't think about the time you're going to do it in. Don't get distracted by other people, how much they've trained. Just try and cross the finish line still smiling, and that will make you want to do another one.
Absolutely. Very wise words, Abbi. Thank you so much. And Abbi, where is the best place for people to find more information about you, read more about on your blog post, find out more about your challenges and what you get up to?
Yeah, so I've written a blog for every challenge that I've done this year, and that is on my website. And on the website, there's all information about the expeditions that I lead and all of that stuff as well. So that is just www.abbinaylor.com. And I'm quite an avid Instagram user, so that's just abbi.naylor as well. So they're the best places. And then my story about why I'm doing the challenges is on the website, or there's the Just Giving page, which there's a link to on there as well, and there's the whole story if you want to give it a read.
Abbi, you've been an absolute superstar. Massive congratulations on your year. Best of luck with your final challenge, and I cannot wait to see what else you're going to achieve going forward. But you've been an absolute superstar, and thank you for kicking off 2019 for the Tough Girl podcast.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute honour to be on the podcast.
Happy New Year, tribe. Welcome to 2019. I wish you all health and happiness. What an exciting year it is going to be. Massive thank you to Abbi for kicking off our year. What an incredible woman Abbi is, with the amount of challenges that she's done. I hope many of you will be able to make it to her charity ball happening in March. If you are living in the UK, that will be absolutely fantastic. Very, very excited about our next guest, who'll be coming next Tuesday at 7 a.m. UK time. We are going to be speaking with Sarah Hastrider, who is an American professional sailor, adventurer, and athlete from Wyoming. She was part of the Volvo Ocean Race with Team SCA. She's also looking to complete an incredible challenge called 7 Seas and 7 Summits. So tune in next week for that episode and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. I will also be doing a solo episode where I reflect back on my year in 2018, what I've learned, the challenges I've faced, what I've overcome, and also the plans for 2019, not only for myself, but for Tough Girl Challenges, the Tough Girl podcast, the Tough Girl blog, etc. Also want to take just a moment to thank so many of you who are patrons and supporters and have been for a long time. It makes such an incredible difference to have you there supporting me every single month. D. Kaplinska, thank you so much. Rochelle Olson, Catherine DeFrere, Katja Lornette, Zoe Langley-Watham, Louise Johnson, Abby Fitzgibbon, Damiana Day, Shauna Fallon, Gemma Smith, Stephanie Lungridge, Linda Blakely, Bethany Taylor, Sarah Bright, Lisa McCoy. Absolutely incredible to get your support. There's over 230 of you now supporting the Tough Girl podcast. I'd love to reach 250. What this funds allows me to do is it gives me a regular income coming in every month, which allows me to fund a lifestyle. It allows me to fund the podcast. It allows me to grow and develop the business. It allows me to increase the amount of female role models in the media. Last year we won the Women's Sports Trust Be a Game Changer Award, and I could not have done that without all of your incredible support. So please do go check out patreon.com, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast. Sign up at $2 a month, sign up at $5 a month. It really does make a massive difference. So help me to reach the next goal of getting to 250 patrons. If you want to find out more information about the Tough Girl Podcast, want to find out more information about me, then please do go check out toughgirlchallenges.com. But have an awesome week wherever you are, whatever you are doing. Give it your all. Give it 110%. Just get after it. Follow your dreams. Take action. Make it happen. I believe in you. You can do it. All right. Take care. Lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.